If I asked you, who is the best suited to be the figurehead of YouTube, what would be your answer? Maybe some of the more mainstream ones like this, or maybe they're not smart enough, maybe something like this, or this. But maybe they don't encompass the crazy spirit of our medium enough. There's a lot of different factors to consider. But if you asked me, I would say exactly who we have. And you're probably thinking to yourself, but that guy doesn't have any of the things you just mentioned. We're talking about PewDiePie, right? And yes, this guy. With this. And this. But also this.
My favorite story is Belem. Which is sort of funny because it's not that much of a story. I'm saying that because it has very little dialogue in it. Sometimes chapters go on with no words at all being spoken. And even though it's so dark and so grim, you still feel like you want to be part of it in a really weird and twisted way. I realize I'm talking about it like it's some perfect piece of art, but it's really an action cyberpunk manga. That's it. That's all it is, but it's also so much more.
This video is called My Favourite Manga, and next to some of the most hilarious meta-commentaries I've ever seen, this is my favourite PewDiePie video. All it is 7 minutes of him off-script describing how he feels about something he loves, and I love that. It might seem stupid to you, but you just don't get this from any other medium. Films tell a designated fictional story, documentaries are too bogged down with professionalism to share feelings, and art is too vague and up its own arse to give any kind of concise thought without a million different interpretations to weigh it down. I think one of the beauties of YouTube is that you really have time and freedom to truly express yourself, and I think that idea pushed to the max is crucial in what makes PewDiePie stand out from other YouTubers, far more than a sub count ever will. If you didn't know about this video, it's probably because it got taken down, probably for something copyright related, but even if you didn't, I bet you probably wouldn't have known about it anyway. Because despite how much this kind of thing might counter what you know of PewDiePie, no one ever talks about it. PewDiePie's popularity and past, needless to say, picked up a lot of buzz. He popularized Let's Plays and the screaming and the shouting, and that became his association. He developed quite a large hate mob for being childish and immature and for low-quality content. Granted, now people are pretty chill with Let's Plays in general and seem to get the appeal, but back then he had to face the brunt of being a new genre, on the internet of all places. I feel like a lot of people still carry that association. Some big YouTubers seem to be quite friendly with him, but when it comes to the general public and YouTubers who don't know him, I feel like all I ever hear is criticism or indifference, which bothers me a lot because it even sounds weird to me to say this, but PewDiePie is awesome. So I'm gonna do it myself. I'm gonna tell you why the most subscribed channel on YouTube deserves more respect. Firstly, if you're expecting me to say PewDiePie has changed or something, he hasn't really. Well, he did have a slight change in attitude, but mainly all he did was stop focusing on Let's Plays and now just does whatever he wants to, which I think is admirable in its own right. I've already started to see a lot of bullshit corporate know-how slip into channels on YouTube. Many are so irrationally afraid to express themselves, some hide everything from the world, some are so scared of their own audience that they lock themselves into the same content until it eats them alive. I don't think people respect the bravery it takes to say, this doesn't make me happy anymore, I have to stop. And that's exactly what PewDiePie did. It was a simple, lighthearted video explaining his feelings, and that was it. That was all he needed to do. Sounds obvious, but you wouldn't believe how many channels screw this up by talking to their fans as if they're being threatened to keep doing the same content. I don't really call myself a fan of the guy. I wasn't even much of a watcher, but since that video, I can genuinely say that I've become one. Again, I can't really say he's changed. He's still immensely loud and obnoxious, but that shift from Let's Plays to literally whatever the fuck he wants to has led to a serious improvement in scripted comedy, and now more so, the reveal that this is actually a genuinely good and honest person.
Started doing you laugh you loses. Like, people didn't like in the beginning. They were like, "What, you just looking at other people's clip? What are you, Ray William Johnson?" Oh Jesus, what the fuck? I enjoyed it. It's like I enjoyed making them. They were fun. I love laughing at these stupid clips, so why shouldn't I make them? And I'm really glad I kept doing them because I think you guys actually really like them too.
He's had countless videos now where he's just sat down and talked occasionally a bit of editing and comedy here or there, but all of those times he's done it, it just felt right. He explained everything he felt during the event from beginning to end, and all of his actions seemed to line up with his explanations. It never felt like he said sorry just because people were angry, but it never felt like he got angry just because they wanted him to say sorry either. Back when the Wall Street Journal decided to pull their Nazi routine, he didn't just pussy out like some people, he stayed the fucking course, and that was clearly the right decision. The PR of this man is actually fucking astounding. Better than any YouTuber I've seen, because what people don't understand is that you can't just apologize for everything and solve the issue. People actually have to believe you're sorry. And probably explaining how you feel and having it make sense is an important step in that. If you can't explain what you did wrong and why, it becomes vague and insincere. I think disregarding anything by the Wall Street Journal, he's only really had 2 real scandals. One of which was just about a single comment he made about money that he followed up with a full video. And as for the other one, well, there didn't even seem to be a dent in the like ratio in the first place, and quite honestly, it was debatable to begin with. Oh, what's that? I'm not allowed to do something purely because of the color of my skin and no other factor? Oh boy, that sounds a little like racism. I'm not gonna get political. But I mean, clearly he probably has similar feelings to this. Every time he's talked about racial slurs, his apology wasn't, "I'm not white." It centered around being in the position he's in as an influencer, feeding into a toxic community, and just how he simply just didn't want to get the backlash. Those reasons are a lot more understandable, or at least debatable, coming from his situation. He certainly dances around the topic a bit, but the important part is he doesn't have to deceive or lie or get on his knees and do meaningless apologies to every possible kind of wrong thing just to cover his bases. He's just honest. Furthermore, he's one of the first YouTubers I've seen who have actively brought up his own PR issues in later videos, completely unprompted. Normally when someone has a PR issue, they apologize and try to sweep it under the rug, move on and pretend it never happened. But when PewDiePie did his review of 2017, he just goes and casually talks about it in more detail.
Once every 10 years, not even, but like twice a year, you fucking idiot. And this time it was sort of different because I felt personally responsible, but I'm glad people accepted my apology. And I was able to move past it.
Things like that prove to me how unbelievably sincere and down-to-earth this guy is. PR aside, you're probably saying right now, you can't say he's that good. He has all these clickbait titles and 10-minute videos and yeah and no. See, all the shady stuff becomes self-referential running jokes, and it can't be shady if you shine a light on it, you know? The most important part is that he doesn't try to pull the wool over your eyes and pretend he's a better person than he is.
Why does he talk like Filthy Frank? He's been doing it for 2 years, but now people are starting to point it out, so he should just stop.
You know he makes clickbait titles, you know he stretches the videos out to 10 minutes, and you know he's running out of ideas, and you know he's a Filthy Frank ripoff, because they're all running jokes. This can be considered less than admirable, but you can't say it can be considered deceptive, which I think in terms of crimes is worlds apart. And I mean, to be honest, a lot of these titles draw a pretty fine line between clickbait and satire, and some of it results in some pretty worthwhile, hilarious titles, so I'm honestly glad it is this way. Additionally, unlike something like Game Theory, the core engagement is comedy. Extending the video out to 10 minutes doesn't mean filling the time up with unnecessary exposition, it just means making some more jokes, so the content doesn't really suffer. In fact, some of the videos to stretch out to 10 minutes are flat out essential to the jokes.
What did I do wrong? I make a video praising them, saying I love them, I want to be them, I want to marry them, but apparently not good enough.
Just to suffer. Every night, I can feel my leg and my arm.
Is the video 10 minutes yet?
Jokes like this make me glad he constantly makes 10-minute videos. If he didn't, this video wouldn't be anywhere near as good. The other important thing is how in tune he is with internet culture. I mean, can you imagine how boring of a place it would be to have a kids' toy channel at the top, or like Jake Paul, or Fred, or motorbikes? I don't fucking know. Point is, he's self-aware, and some of his videos are good at calling out stupid shit in our community. The chain of videos that were specifically made with the goal of getting certain numbers of likes, dislikes, etc. were some of the most hilarious satires of both algorithms and the people who beg for likes that I've ever seen.
1 million likes! Ah! You want this apple?
Sure, buddy, thank you.
You like it?
Well, I haven't tried it.
You like before you try it! 1 million likes, or I'll kill myself.
I mean, look, I suppose we could have like iDubbbz or something at the top, and that'd be pretty appropriate, but he's maybe a little, abrasive. PewDiePie is very well-rounded, and that's kind of the point. I think if more people set aside their biases and watched him, they'd realize we couldn't have a more perfect figurehead. Honestly, he's not my favorite. He's not even in my top 5, but PewDiePie is so well-rounded that I think anyone except for the dumbass media could learn to accept him as a figurehead. Between the PR, the genuine expressions of emotion, the hilarious out-of-the-box skits and meta-commentaries, the self-awareness, the obnoxious craziness that embodies the internet, and just the ability to be open and honest with us. I genuinely don't want any other person to be the most subscribed channel on YouTube. Jesus, I really gotta stop trying to be Nerdwriter when I'm talking about shit like